Hi everyone, welcome back to the Mandy Effect. Today's conversation is about hitting rock bottom and figuring out what's possible on the other side of it. I'm joined by Cara. She is the founder of Apiary. She built a women-focused co-working community in the hardest seasons of her life, getting fired. Today, she's turning that into purpose community as well as writing a book. Cara, I'm so grateful to have you today.
So excited to be here, Mandy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I think so many people are going to resonate with today's conversation and the lessons that you're going to talk about. So let's start right at the beginning, when you were working before your business. So what was your career? What did you do?
Perfect. So I worked in post-secondary education for almost 20 years. I oversaw a co-op career in experiential education at a local university. I had different jobs there, over those, I think it was 17 and a half years. But my last job was overseeing 5 units. There was about 60 people. We were regarded as literally the best in the country. I was also just coming off of, I was the president of a national association called Cooperative Education and Work Integrated Learning Canada. I had just finished my master's in leadership. And my coaching certificate. So I had a lot going on in my world, but yeah, that's what I did, and I worked nationally as well as really locally.
That's amazing. So large team, a lot of responsibility. Let's talk about your journey, from being there to your exit. Did you have a sense that something was going on? Can we talk about that experience of how it led to you being let go?
Yeah. So it's one of those things, like I've let people go. And I will always say that, if it's easy, you should not be in a position of leadership. So there's a variety of things that I think contributed. I'm used to being an entrepreneur. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I would say people would tell me I was an entrepreneur because, I would have ideas and people would give me the bandwidth to be able to go and explore them, which is really what I had done in that role for over 7 years. And I had an amazing boss. And then some changes happened where she was no longer my boss. And then I got a new boss for a little bit, and that was a shift, and then I got another new boss. So it also felt like I was, while we had built this thing that was revered across the country, I had somebody come in that was new, and at the same time didn't have context about what we were doing or why we do particular things. We had just come off of COVID, thinking that as well. So we had, if you think about the labor market, what was happening in COVID was nobody left during COVID. Like everybody stayed in their jobs. And then there was the Great Resignation where people started leaving for better jobs and more money and all of that. So we had this big shift within our team. And when you look at, stages of a team, there's the forming, storming, norming, and performing. But there's also dissolution. And so that was happening there at the same time of having a new boss. And frankly, I started going through perimenopause, and I wasn't even aware of that. And so I saw things that were happening in myself, how I would react to situations. So a lot was happening. And I was actually going through a change process. I had this new boss come in, and they had asked me to stop this change that I had been working on. And then the next year was not great. I always loved my job, and I would go home crying at the end of the day and not feeling appreciated, not feeling seen. Just more challenging than it had been. And I had been through leading the National Association and my team through COVID. But this was tougher than that. So when people ask me, so one of my mentors has said to me, were you surprised or was it unexpected? And I thought it was a really interesting question because the day before I got let go, I had said to one of my colleagues, oh, when they let me go, this is where this is. So obviously I knew that things weren't great, just in relationally, I think. But at the same time, I don't think I ever expected that it was going to happen. But I wasn't surprised when you look at what happened.
Was it sudden? Or did they give you like a, hey, 30 days?
Oh, no, it was, and I worked in HR at the organization as well. So like when the thing happened, like as soon as it happened, I knew what was happening because I've let people go. I know it's almost like an operation. I know the operation from the moment that it happens and then everything that happens from there. So
Whew, I need to take a deep breath. I can definitely relate. So when it happened, once you exited the building, what was going through your mind? How were you feeling? And where did you go after that?
So it happened, and I know we'll talk a little bit about the book. And actually, my first part of my book is about the first 24 hours. The whole the first book is about that day and what happens in that day. And when you've experienced it, it's really difficult. It's almost like an out-of-body experience. My mind and my brain and my mouth were not keeping up to each other. So I got to keep my cell phone because I was one of those people that didn't have two cell phones. So I had my work cell phone and my personal cell phone together. And I think one of the funniest things that happened to me was after, HR was there and delivered the news and I had to get my technology back. And I was like going through my mind of all of these things. And I'm in my office that this is my home. My kids have grown up on this, with this organization. I have things on the walls. I have plants. I'm like, it feels like my space.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the HR person's looking at me and I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, I just need them to leave so I can collect myself. And I was like, oh, I have to leave.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't recognize that I actually am the person that needed to leave this office.
Yeah.
And so once I realized that, I kind of picked up my empty laptop bag and walked out. And I just wanted to get outside. I felt like the walls were closing in on me. And I found this emergency exit. And I bursted out into the corridor. Yeah. And I was crying, and this is early in the morning. And here I am walking out as people are walking into their jobs, and I'm crying. So I messaged my now husband, at the time was my partner, and I sent him a text that said, I just got fired.
Oh my God.
And he responded back with, what? And then I was walking, trying to think of the path of least running into people because it's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm bawling. And one of my staff one of my team members, Dan, who I directly report to, he was walking towards me. Right before that, I had messaged two other people on my team because we were really close, a really close team. And Dan was walking towards me and said, hey. And I looked up at him. I'm like, they just let me go. And he goes, what? And he grabbed me and basically hugged me, almost protected me from this walk in.
Yeah.
And then one of the other women that was another one of my team members ran down the stairs, found out where I was. We all together walked to my car and they sat with me in my car.
Yeah. At least that support system was there. And,
Absolutely.
I always say during your rock bottom, you really find out who your people are.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad you had that support, that hug at that moment from that friend of yours, Dan, and just people sitting in your car, just kind of calming you down. So I'm assuming after that you went home. As a mother, you're a mom of 4 kids. What were the drive home? What was going through your mind? What were you thinking? I mean, I can't imagine. It's what am I going to do? Finances, where am I going to go? How am I going to start over? Because you're just in the middle of this explosion and now you're kind of oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so funny thing is that I just built a house at the bottom of the hill of the post-secondary institution that I worked at. So I had a 4-minute drive, like in my car, down the hill, park at my house. And like, I'm looking up at this ivory tower that is, been attached to for 20 years almost. And I say like my kids grew up there. Like that it's one of the hardest things actually. That day, I'm a communicator. I'm a people person. So like I reached out to my people and like was kind of messaging people, and some just bizarre things that had happened that I think are serendipitous. And but at the same time, like going home, walking in the door, and being like, huh.
Yeah.
And like I'm always, professionally dressed, and I always call it my armor, like especially then, and it's like my pencil skirt and my jacket, and walking in my armor, and like, okay, I guess I can put on my Lululemons, and like I'm unemployed, and you have so much go through your head, and at the same time, it's like time is going so slowly, but also fast, and. I messaged messaged some people, and some of my closest friends and mentors, obviously, and my husband, and Grant, who is one of my, he's been such a rock for me throughout my career, and the reason I went into leadership even, and he came over right away, but I kind of went in, got my dog, grabbed a cup of tea, and went on my back porch, and was just like, shit, this just happened, and telling the kids, it was one of the hardest parts of that day. I've always been a very, very, like, I believe in being an example. I think that we use this word fired as like a way to shame people. And like, you think about it, you say to your kids, if you don't hand that in the real world, you'll get fired. If this happens, you'll get fired. Like we have put this fired label for people that do bad things, right?
Yeah. And there's anger, there's shame associated to it. And being a parent, it's like, how do you share the news yet be positive at the same time? Because to your children, you're a superhero, right? So 100%. For them to see you at your lowest, I think that's also important, being a parent, 100%. For your children to see the reality. So let's talk about, the few weeks followed, right? Like what were some of the routines? What did you do during that time? Did you look for another job? Did you want to take some time off? Did you take a lot of hot showers? So what was that journey like for the next couple of weeks? And, the support of your husband or your partner then, your children, your friends, even, people that kind of departed from your life. I feel like during your rock bottom, you really, again, get to really figure out who your people are. And then some just go MIA.
Yeah. So. And it's also really interesting because some people, like the community around me embraced me. So because of the work I did nationally, I was like, I need to message this. I was a past president, I believe, at the time. And I need to message this group of people that I have weathered the pandemic with. And, the reason I'm with them is because of that position that I had held. And so the next morning I'd message, and right away people responded with things like, I can't believe this. People responded with, I need help. Like, can we hire you to do these things? And I had always had a consulting business on the side. I had actually just named my consulting business. I had some gig work, and so that was kind of my I call it my trampoline. Like I basically bounced a little bit with that. But the response of my local community, my national community, my team. So I had 60 people that were responding to me in ways that, I actually started to feel survivor's guilt because I felt like I was doing better than they were doing there. And I had intentionally built a very strong team with mission, vision, values, purpose, all of the things that I do work around, I lived that. And so that was interesting. I did a lot of teas, a lot of lunching. After I told the kids that day, my two kids, like my biological kids, it was really difficult because they grew up there. So that was, and two different responses. Also, all four of the kids, though, somewhat saw themselves maybe going to school there. So that was a big shift, even like managing their expectations. The questions about, are we going to have to sell our house?
Yeah.
Are we going to have to move? Those kind of things. In some ways, I called that point the messy middle. So I got let go at the end of September. And 2 weeks later, there was an open house that my stepdaughter wanted to go to on that campus of the place that I just got let go of. And one of my things is I believe in having mantras. When I went through my divorce, my mantra was, it's not about me, it's about them. So I really grounded in that. And that helped me. That even just like when Kylie wanted to go and check out the school, I was like, I can do this. I can walk these hallways. I can go. But that was fairly soon after. My mantra started to be, this happened for me, not to me. And that's kind of something that's helped me through that messy middle as I worked through it.
Thank you for sharing that. So while you're navigating grief, right, there's loss, how did you how long did it take you to realize, okay, like it's been a couple of weeks, I need to do something, money needs to come in, right? That paycheck is important.
Right.
So how was that journey from that point on?
Yeah, so I find with me and a lot of people I talk to, I've become like I've just been fired whisperer.
Yeah.
I say like at Best Buy, they should have like a thing that says I've just been fired, and you just walk up and you're like, I need all the technology. I feel like I'm a Clifton Strengths coach, and one of my top strengths is activator. So I need action. So I actually didn't sit very quickly. The day I got let go, I actually on LinkedIn, I got a message from a gentleman who runs the Global Future Talent Council of the world. And he messaged me and said, Cara, are you okay? And I was like, oh my goodness, like, why is he messaging me today and asking that question? And he said, well, I just tried to message you. I got a bounce back. And the bounce back email is something that I also talk about. But he had messaged me and I said, well, I just got let go. And he's like, great. So you're available to come to an event in Toronto. So I was like, Sure. So here I am with like no business card, going to this event with like global leaders and talent. And, so I actually, I didn't sit well. And I don't know if I would have done that differently, because I know myself well enough to know that I probably should have sat maybe a bit more. But I kind of went into action mode fairly quickly. But the things I changed, I started to take time in the morning for me.
Okay.
Right? Like journaling, having my coffee, sitting with my dog, being a little bit more intentional about that. I'm so defined by my work that I felt like I didn't give myself a lot of space to feel undefined at that moment. For me, it was a pivot. Yeah, and the other thing, I cook. I love to cook. Cooking is somewhat of my love language. And I feel like it gave me some intentional space to be a mom. All of a sudden I'm making lunches that I was like not having to run out the door. And, being able to get up and having a routine was actually really important to me. So I didn't want to stay in bed. I wanted to make sure I got up and, making lunches or making dinners and working from home, in my office on some of the, side gigs that I had. So it was a very interesting time because I had a lot of time. And I always say like wealth in time was a gift. Yeah. But I was very intentional about it.
Yeah. I think when you are a hustler. I have a very similar personality too. So that survival mode just naturally kicks in. And sometimes during these hard seasons, that's when like life kind of kicks you back and say, hey, take a step back, chill out, grab a cup of coffee. And that's when you really start to appreciate the mornings, right? You appreciate your tea, you appreciate your journaling, and you appreciate the things you enjoy doing. It's almost like, when you're going through a divorce, you really have to take the time to get to know yourself.
Absolutely.
So you can understand what works for you, right? So then let's get into the apiary. How did the birth of the apiary happen? When did you realize that, okay, I don't want to work for somebody, now this is something I want to do? And I know you said that, wealth for you was not an issue at that point, right? Financially, you were good. I want to talk about how someone with no money starts a business. How did the concept of the apiary happen? How did you even? It's such a fascinating idea. I love it, and I want you to share all that you can about it.
For sure. So, like at that time, I had a bit of space and grace financially, just being able to figure out what I'm going to do next, right? So, with that, I really wanted to make sure I was intentionally building a something that I could point to and say, this is mine. I said earlier that I was always called an entrepreneur, and I was an entrepreneur because I couldn't afford to be an entrepreneur. Like before Matt and I were together, I was a single mom. I'd gone through a divorce years earlier. Everything was on me. I remember my consulting, when I first started a consulting company, I got to this point where I had to choose between staying at the organization I was with or going out and consulting full time. I'm like, I'm a single mom. Like, I don't know how in the world I'm going to do consulting full time. Like, it was too scary. I needed the golden handcuffs. So the consulting company really grew out of that time. I could take, people were reaching out to me across the country because I had done that work nationally. So I was saying like, well, I might as well, do some of this and see if I can build this. And really intentionally building a culture that if I knew I was never to be made a solopreneur. I'm not somebody who does well on my own. Even during COVID, I would go out and like walk around places where there's other people just safely, so I knew I was never going to just be a business of myself. So I really wanted to make sure I was rooted in having a good purpose, and that purpose being igniting passion, purpose and passion in other people and helping them and their organizations with that. I have a specialization in work integrated learning and experiential education. So that was really a working with organizations and helping people do work well. And basically almost every person that reported to me had left the company, the organization that I got let go from, and they went on to different roles in a fairly short period of time. And there was, I was doing this by myself, and I had the opportunity to hire somebody who I'd always said if I were to start something on my own, I would love for her to come in. What happened with me didn't really align with her values, so she left, and then she came and worked with me. Her name is Jillian. So Jillian and I started to build this consulting company in a way that was like, okay, what will this look like if it's successful? So she worked from home, I worked from home, and I had this moment though where I was really, I had actually, it's kind of funny, like I had a client not hire me for what they wanted to hire me for. They hired me for what I wanted them to hire me for. And I did this. I was dancing in my house by myself with my dog, and I was so excited that I got this contract. And I was like, I hate working from home by myself. Right? Like I like community. I like, my human design will say I like markets, right? Like so there's
You're
Julie.
a people person.
I am a people person, and I get energy from it. So what happened though was, so Jillian was working from home. She'd come over on Tuesdays and then with her coming on, I also was like, I want us to have this culture. And so I wanted to celebrate what we were doing. So the Atelier Collective was a event that was happening in Toronto. And I said to Jillian, I would love for us to go. It's other female entrepreneurs. There's about about 300, I think, between female entrepreneurs that were there. And I was like, let's buy a ticket and go in Toronto. So she's like, okay, great. In the meantime, I had a meeting, I needed to have a meeting with my coach, and Matt was coming to it. And we didn't want to do it at our house. And so I started looking around at spaces that we could have a meeting at. And I was like, there's nowhere to have the meeting. And so I ended up at a friend's restaurant in like this big, it was like a big room that here we were on a video call. And so these kind of things happened at the same time. So we went to the Atelier Collective, and there was around 300 amazing female entrepreneurs. And at the same time, it was beautiful. Like it was blossoms and flowers, and women were showing up in like the most amazing outfits. And this idea started to percolate. So one of my other strengths is ideation. And this coach was on stage, and she said, what's an idea or something that you have that you would love to do? If you couldn't fail, what would you do? And I looked at Jillian and I said, I have an idea. I want to work with these kind of people all the time. And at the same time, I was just trying to find a space to have a meeting. And I found these co-working spaces, but I was so intimidated by them. And I wanted it to be beautiful. And so I said, I think I want to create like a space where women entrepreneurs can work together every day. And she said, yeah, that sounds perfect. So we had already been using in the consulting business the concept of bees and ecosystems and hives. Jillian had brought that when she came. And so we were going to call it the Hive. And then we found out, just as we were going to go purchase, I think I purchased the Hive on Lake or something like that. Or the Hive we were looking at. And I don't know how much you want to know about the building, but we found the building. We bought the building, my husband and I, we created, so all of this was happening, and then we found out that there was a networking group of women in Niagara called the Hive, Niagara.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But I didn't want to step on their toes about like calling this thing the Hive. So I went into ChatGPT and said, this is what's happened, this is what we're looking at, and can you give me another name? And number 10 on the list was the Apiary. And an apiary is a collection of hives, which all have queen bees. So it actually worked out better that it was not the hive. So the apiary was born. We bought the building we got possession in June. We opened in September
That's amazing.
of 2024.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. I think purpose, I always, like we talked earlier, hard times teach us the most valuable lessons, but I also think they kind of force us to get out of the mud and get dirty and hustle, because what's coming our way is so much more beautiful. So let's talk about a couple of things based on our conversation. Two things. One is, yes, financially you were good. You purchased the building. How was that experience of, you didn't have a job at that point. You do have a partner, but money still, it's a new business. New businesses require a lot of funding, right? And then you said you wanted something beautiful. So how did the money part happen, the funding? And then number two, when you were going to these events, 300 women, very successful. I think sometimes no matter how good we are, anxiety a little bit, self-doubt kind of creeps in those big rooms where we feel so little. Talk to me about that, because I think there's so many men and women out there that could probably resonate with that feeling, and how you sort of either get out of it, or what did you tell yourself in those moments of self-doubt?
Yeah, so I think the first kind of self-doubt that came to me was not having a title.
Yeah.
Like even you have a business, like it's kind of like, who doesn't have a business right now? Like, it's like everybody seems to have a side gig. So that part, I felt like before I really like could walk in with my name tag, that like this organization that's established, and then I'm walking into this group of, women. At this point, it was the Talent Strategy Collective is the consulting company, and we're there with this company name, and the email is really long, and like you're trying to, establish yourself, and you're looking around, and you've got the woman who started Poppy and Peonies, right? And, you've got Cheekbone Beauty that's there, and Jillian Harris was the keynote there, and, the brand that she had built. And so, but the interesting thing is that you're beside other solopreneurs and, micro businesses, and, one person over here making cookies out of their house, and you've got Mandy salads that are like turned from salad dressing into this amazing, brand. So there was also just so much inspiration that was there. But then you're like, who am I? Like I
exactly, right? Like there's all these amazing people. How do I stand out, right? The little me.
and I still think that to this day, like I have that doubt. Like I'll post something and I'm like, who am I to tell people this? And I think that's why I'm so trying to tell people their story is like, why not you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why not you? Like every single person that you've seen do something extraordinary has had that. Why not you?
Yeah.
Right? Like what makes like, and it's not, when I say that financially I was okay, I was okay, like for a bit.
You had enough. You had a little bit of a backup, right?
Yeah. So like I had a little bit of space, but that space runs out really quickly.
It does.
Right? So you have some severance, but you have a deadline. We bootstrapped and, the financial piece actually has been harder over the last year and a bit than it was at the beginning because I had that safety net.
Yeah.
So I'm a risk taker. My husband is thankfully very supportive, but he's the numbers guy. And we always have seen real estate as a good investment long term.
Yeah.
So I think that's why with the Apiary it was, at least we have the building.
Yeah.
But it is long nights, early mornings. It is not for somebody who is risk adverse. You have to put yourself out there. And so I'll talk about the finances piece. It was built on debt and loans. There's a lot of great loans out there. There's a lot of not so great loans out there. We got a loan that was backed by the government, and it was so difficult to manage that we basically got to the point where like, I don't even want to, it's more work for me. I had to hire somebody to help me manage the loan. I'm like, this isn't work.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of red tape. What I would say though, the consulting business was easier because it was my knowledge.
Yeah.
It was what I know. I will say to anybody, like when you're really good at something, lean into that. That's the whole point of being a strengths coach, right? So find out what you're good at and then find out what you love and make a living from it is amazing.
Yeah.
But it is not, do it on the side until you can. I say like this happened for me. This was the universe kicking me in the ass, I think, to say, you are ready to do this.
Yeah.
I had that foundation, right place, right time, right skills. Like skills stacking is really important so that when you are ready to jump or make a leap or something happens to you, you can make that pivot.
Yeah. And like I said, it's what we're doing today and what we did yesterday that prepares us for what's coming our way. And having a hustler mindset definitely helps.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people have the talent, they have the contacts, they have the skill set, but they have a hard time figuring it out. Yeah. So I think sometimes sitting down and really asking yourself and networking and investing in, education and going to these events where it's costing you, but you're going to meet so many other women and men out there that are just like you, that are going to inspire you, right? So this concept is beautiful. I think you have about 15 to 20 women that now rent or that utilize that space. I'm sure that comes with a lot of challenges, a bunch of women, and then you being a leader, also trying to make sure that, you're serving their needs from a contract or, like a facility standpoint. But then as a mentor, what are some of the challenges or gaps that you see, or as a leader, where do you feel like as a whole, if you look at them, these are things that I wish someone would teach, or like what are some of those emotions?
So I think you hit it first too, is like the financial acumen for all of these businesses, right? So there are resources in the community, but knowing more about that is probably one of the bigger aspects I see with female-owned businesses around understanding the financial aspects. So the purpose and the kind of tagline for the Apiary is where queen bees thrive. We are a female-focused co-working space, and so foundationally, I believe very strongly in having your mission, your vision, your values, your purpose. These are your North Star and your compass. So we actually have not had, we're very strong about like, these are our boundaries. This is what this looks like. This is who belongs here. We don't have drama. We haven't and if anything happens, it's a matter of like, we have community guidelines, we have rules. We're actually also expanding virtually right now because not everybody needs space, but they want community. So we have a place where you can, it's called Bloom by the Apiary, and we're expanding virtually so that you can be part of the Apiary, both virtually and physically. And those same guidelines apply. The gaps that I see are actually more about, I think in Canada in general, we have a really big problem with scaling businesses. We don't have the infrastructure to scale businesses well. We have banks that are risk averse. We have people that don't know. Like, it's also, for me, it was the first time running a consulting company is very different. And then all of a sudden having staff is different. And then having staff as a business owner is different, and then owning a space is different. Like, so knowing all of those, what you have to have posted, what does that look like? What are the guidelines here those are some of the things. Oh my goodness, I learned so much in the first year. But even just getting the space filled, like buying a space is like, if you build it, they will come is not, it doesn't work that way.
Every step you have to put forth the effort and educate yourself and kind of attract the audience, right?
Yeah, and cash flow. Cash flow is probably the biggest. Like, I have one of my friends who has talked to me so much about this, and I go to him and talk to him as like, okay, just because your income doesn't equal cash flow. So you need to know your expenses. You need to know how much you're bringing in. You need to know your break even. You need to know what is you're investing in. What does that actually, what is that coming out? What do you stop? What do you quit doing? What do you, the whole fail fast and recover? That's a thing. So we have, we do the community. I think that is amazing at the Apiary is that we're all living this. So when you go in and you're vulnerable, it's like, hey, like, I don't know how I'm making payroll, or I don't know how, I have members that say like, I want to stay here so much, but I need to bring money in to make sure I do. So those are the kind of conversations that we have, but we also refer each other, right? So it's also like this community that uplifts. But the big gaps for me are the financial acumen. I wish that we would teach people understand how to manage their career in a particular way. So those are some of the things.
Awesome. So looking back, here you are today, doing so well, mentoring people. What lessons did you learn from your hard season that now are sort of like a critical skill set? Or what are the, things that you look back at? If you were to look at the younger Cara, who got let go that day, what would you tell her?
I think that, I think that it's not easy, but it's worth it. I think that's a piece. I think you talked about it too, is like your community, the people that surround you are the people that you will rely on for anything, right? I think also is like, I knew somewhat from the beginning is I need to tell this story so that other people don't have to feel the shame that I was feeling. I think, tread carefully, but leap confidently. I think those are some of the things. but it's been a season of reflection, of pushing yourself when you don't know that you could push yourself even more. And I think that it's been a space where the vulnerability and authenticity allow other people to tell you their stories. The reason I decided to write the book was actually because I decided to have a fireside chat in front of that community, that national community. And I told my story. The 10 things I learned about being let go was the title of it.
Yeah.
And I had a lineup of people afterwards waiting to talk to me to tell me their story.
Yeah.
People had said, I was let go and my wife still doesn't know that that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
People had said, I got let go and I've never been able to say the words I was fired.
Yeah.
So the thing I would say back to Cara then is, just stay the course. You have everything that you need to build.
Yeah.
You have to feel confident and lean into it, and it's okay to make mistakes along the way too.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
So looking at, there are so many women out there that are just killing it, right? And then there's so many women out there that are sitting with that idea, self-doubting, right? And then there's so many women out there that are right now trying and they're in their sort of like opening phases. What advice would you give to those women that are in the season where they're starting their business and they're kind of like, do I give up? Do I start something over? I feel you should give something at least a year. I think you should. It's really important to educate yourself. I think it's really important to invest in your skill set. You could be so good at something, but there's always that one course that you could take that's really going to help you enhance your skill set, and then really be open to networking. But again, that doesn't mean you're still not going to have hard seasons, right? So obviously, don't give up, because, I think there's always potential. And if one door closes, something else is waiting or in the works.
Right.
So what would you say to those women that are kind of struggling in their little small businesses, or that are those young mamas out there sort of questioning themselves and their confidence?
Right. I would say everybody has superpowers. I am a strengths coach. The chances of you and somebody else having the exact same strengths are 1 in 31 million. Okay. So you are a special snowflake. And what I mean, but think about this is you are uniquely you. And even if you are in a business that is, other women have businesses, nobody has that unique of a business that there is one of it. And when you do have one, people will replicate it. Yeah. And so I would say to them is, figure out what your niche is, figure out what you are good at. What is your special sauce? What is that 1 in 31 million that makes you uniquely you, and lean into it. The other thing that's really helped me is, I work in a environment of all women, and we just had this conversation literally 2 days ago. We are so good with each other, and we push back against this, because we are a female-focused co-working space, that there's got to be issues there, or drama, or those things are happening. There's no space for it. We queens, we collab. We raise each other up. I have no time for putting people down. And nobody doing better than you is talking about you. And I think that we worry so much about what other people think about us. Nobody who is doing better than you is talking about you. So look
That's
up.
really deep. Yep.
Look up. Don't look backwards. Look to who are your role models, what they are doing, right? And if they're not talking about you, you're probably not doing anything right. So you have to have a bit of a thick skin with it, right? And you know what? You're going to fumble through some cringy posts. And I have a 19-year-old daughter who tells me all of the cringy things I do. So I just, then she steals the stuff that she makes fun of me for. I'm I thought that wasn't cool to wear. But the things that what I mean by that is really be critical. Critically look at what you're doing. If the numbers aren't making sense, then the numbers are going to tell you, like, you're going to have to make a shift, right? But like, give it some time.
Yeah.
Ask the people that you trust the most for critical feedback, right? And don't worry about the haters, because at the end of the day, like, they're really not that worried about what you're doing.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. Now let's transition into your book. I'm so excited to talk about your book. So I heard and I read that you are in the process of writing a book. Let's talk about the idea on how this happened. Let's talk about that first. And then I want to kind of transition into what kind of a book is it? Is it a memoir? Is it more of a business strategy? Is it more a tell it all? This is what I went through. This is where I am today. You can do it too. Give us more.
So it's funny because when I was a kid, my dad asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said an author.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever wanted to do is write a book. I just never knew what type of book I was going to write.
Yeah.
And this was not the book, I would tell you, that the first book I was going to write. When I got let go, that day I sent that text to Matt that said I just got fired. I actually had this kind of premonition. It was like, this will be the story I tell. And the purpose behind it was to help people not feel shame. Even if you've been fired because you did something wrong, you know what? Pick yourself up, move forward, and learn from it. So this book, the idea came after that fireside chat, and one of my friends said, when does the book come out? And I kind of laughed. And then I came across this on LinkedIn. A friend of mine posted something about a company that helps you write the book that you wanted to. They're called the Working Writers Co. I love them. And, you know, the English major in me that, like, I studied English for the first 2 years in university and then switched. I was like, I am here to write this book. So, it's literally tonight I have the last 2 paragraphs to fix. It is going to publishing. I'm signing my publishing contract right now. On my website, we have a book place where you can follow along. But yeah, so that's the idea. That's how it came. And I've always wanted to write it. And I think this will be my first of other books because I love to write.
That's amazing. What would you say was the most difficult chapter to write emotionally?
2. There's a chapter about when I tell the kids, and when I read it out loud, I started to cry. I read it to my brother. That same chapter talks about kind of like who we were as kids, and that was the hardest. Then. The other hardest was actually a chapter I actually forgot all about this. It's also probably one of my favorite chapters. It's called The Purge. And so I got let go in September, October being Halloween month. And I'm not somebody who loves horror movies.
Neither do I.
Yeah, but I leaned into The Purge. And I was like cocooned on the couch. Like, it was like this cathartic experience of watching this, like, society go down this path, and I forgot about that I did this until this, like, I actually added this chapter in, and it was so good to write, but also really difficult because there was a lot of anger that I was holding, and a lot of, like, the negative feelings I was always like, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm fine. But my family saw me sitting cocooning on the couch watching The Purge.
Yep, I see a lot of women struggle with that too. I think when we're going through a hard time, a lot of women feel that they have to look perfect. They have to look confident. They have to look put together. And I think sometimes the raw, the ugly is okay. You know, it's okay to be a mess. It's okay to not be confident. It's okay to be messy. But I think what's important is, you know, I often hear in interviews and podcasts, I'm a self-help. I'm a huge advocate for self-help and learning and growing and evolving. People say, you know, fake it till you make it, or, you know, just dress for the best, or dress for the job. I think in order for you to really nail it, you have to be good at something, and you really have to work on your skill set. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? I feel like
Yeah.
when you work on that skill set, you're naturally so good. Even if you look like crap, the work that you put out there, people will see that and they'll resonate with it.
Absolutely. And you asked what kind of book it is. It's a little bit of everything. Like, it
Yeah.
kind of started off as a memoir, but really it's a coaching book. Like, it is. So I'm a big believer. I use Cornell notes whenever I'm learning, or if I'm writing. Also, I have ADHD, so a way I manage that is like, I always, like, if I'm listening to somebody or coaching, like, I write down my thoughts. So when I'm reading a book, I write down my thoughts in the margin. So in this book, I've actually challenging the reader to think about things, and I want them to be using the margins for their thoughts, right? So when I say things like, what would be the thing that you would do if you couldn't fail at it? Or what is the idea? Like, write it down, right? Because we know that when we write things down, that they're more likely to happen. So it's a little bit of like, I just got fired meets wreck this journal meets this is my memoir. And somebody said to me once, like, well, you bouncing the way you did was because it's you. And I was like, well, what does that mean? They're like, well, not everybody can do that. And my thing was, well, why not? Like,
I think it's a choice, you know. I feel the same way. Like, I think if you really want something, you just have to go for it. You know, you can't have the victim mentality. And, you know, sometimes when we are talking about the hard topics, or we are having the hard discussions with our friends, it's like, well, you really have to get up and do something. You know, yes, it's hard. Nobody wants to hear it.
Right.
You know, yes, it's painful. Yes, there's grief. But then ultimately, we have to put on our big girl pants and go out there, right?
Yeah, and this job market, I think, you know, one of my good friends lost her job recently, like in the last year, and she hasn't been able to bounce the same way. And I think part of me telling my story, though, too, is I think people see social media and the things that have happened, and, you know, what I post, but it's kind of like the swan. Like, there's all of this is happening, and she sees the swan like this, and all of this is happening in the background, and that's part of the book too. Is I want you to know, like, there's messiness that happens in everybody's life. Like, nobody's life is picture perfect. So you do have to get up. I believe in skill stacking, right? I believe in this market right now, this job market. And there's a statistic as a woman that if you lose your job as a woman over 40, that if you do not replace that income in 6 months, you never will. But I will say, this is a statistic that can change, right? But and you know, also 40% of people will get let go of something, from something in their life. So something that is so normalized, we need to be able to talk about, but also talk about, you might not bounce back. You may have to start to build again. You may have to take a pivot over, take a course, you know, take that coaching course, take that online course, go get that project management certificate, go, and right now so a lot of the work I do in consulting is around future of work. So we are looking at skills that we are asking people to have that they haven't had before. So if you don't have AI skills, you need to go and get them, right? So that's the other piece too, is like, yes, you can have your pity party, and I had many of them, right?
We all do.
Right? But you still need to, like, you need to stay on top of this, or you need to figure out a different path for your life. Maybe you sell the house. Maybe you do take a back seat. You know, my husband and I just put our house up for sale. We just built our dream house right before this happened. We love it. But you know what? We have 4 kids now going to university. We have 2 businesses that we're trying to scale. He's retiring, and we're like, our equity is here. So how we're going to scale our business is pull our equity, build again, go a bit smaller, because the next 20 years, we've decided we're going to build bunkies for the kids.
That's amazing.
Right? We're like, okay, we're going to build our house and then bunkies around it. But what I mean is, like, this season of your life now looks different. You're going to have to adjust to shift to see what those things look like.
I think people have to be open too, right? Like, sometimes it's like, go big or go home. But like, why can't you go small? Like, you have this big house, there's 5 bedrooms, and there's only you and your husband. The 4 rooms are empty. Do something better and effective.
It makes more sense to like use this.
Downsizing is okay. Let's normalize it. You know, getting fired, let's normalize the shame. Let's normalize the anger. Let's normalize the growth after that, right? So with that being said, what message do you hope to deliver with your book?
That it's normal.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you got fired does not make you special.
Yeah.
The fact that you rise from it makes you special.
Yeah. That's
Like,
amazing.
that's really it. Like it is, you are statistically, it's normal.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to take another shift a little bit too, is we shame people for being let go. We don't shame organizations when people quit.
Yeah.
And think about how many toxic organizations people quit, right? They quit jobs, they quit managers that are toxic. We don't walk around shaming them, but we shame the people. And if you ask me why, whether it's because when I've let people go, I've got let go, we did not have a match. There was a mismatch of values.
Oh, yeah.
So when you leave an organization, a lot of times it's because the values don't match. When you let go from an organization, it's because your values aren't matching.
Yeah.
So find the space where your values match and you will thrive.
Yeah.
And that's really what we want, is we want people to thrive. We want people to know what their purpose is and follow a particular passion that they're good at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the message.
If someone is in a situation today, it's a young mama, young daddy, they're in a hard season. You know, the job's not working out, but the money is needed.
Yes.
You know, I always say continue doing what you're doing and keep preparing for the tomorrow,
Absolutely.
right? What advice do you have for those folks that are in that situation to really push them?
Plan. Have your plan. You know, the Le Petit Prince is, you know, a plan, like oh my goodness, I'm just getting it wrong. A idea without a plan is just a wish, right?
Yeah.
So like you can want all you want to go and do something else. So like to your point, like I went and got my master's. You know, why did I do that? Because down the road I knew that this wasn't what I wanted to do forever. I got my coaching certificate because like it's the education, it's the skills, so if you want to do something different, you have to do something differently. So talking about like, yes, it's my husband. You know, he's retiring early from teaching. He could stay for the next 5 years. He's talked about retiring for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And finally, I just said to him, "What's your plan?" Right. So if you know, what are you leaving to do? Like, and know it's so. Sometimes you just want it to happen that day. And when I say that happened that day to me, it's because I had the plan, but I wouldn't put it in act.
Yeah.
Right. I had the golden handcuffs. You make the money.
Yeah.
You've got the lifestyle. So you have to decide, is this a wish or is this in a plan? And then make your 1-year plan. Do the things. Get the skills you need to do. Put the money away. You know, those are the ways that it happens. And the other thing I would say too is, you know, when you don't love what you're doing, people know that.
Yeah.
People knew that I wasn't happy that last year. I knew. When I say like, was it unexpected? Yes, because it just, you know, sorry, it was expected, but I was kind of surprised. I didn't know if they'd actually do it. But I own some of that. Like I did not like my job for a year. I would not have wanted to manage me.
But I think we also, human mind is so resilient, but also, you know, I think we get so comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
Absolutely.
You know, we get so comfortable in the mud that we think we're going to, you know,
miraculously it's going to change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, you know, whether it's the universe, whether you believe in energies, whether you believe in God, it's like they're pushing you out because they know something out there
100%
is coming that's better, and you just need to be kind of pushed forward, you know?
So I heard this, I wrote a blog about it recently, but I was listening to a podcast, and it was, if you were watching your movie right now, what would you be yelling at the screen? And I love that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's amazing.
So like, what would you, as a observer of your life, be yelling? You know, when you're watching that movie and you're like, my goodness, just break up with him. Or like, quit your job. Or like, ask her to marry you, you damn fool. Like, what is it that your audience would be screaming at you? And the other thing I would say is, what is 80-year-old you whispering to you? Right? What are they saying? You know, Cara, at 48.
Yeah.
You know, Mandy at, you know, your
41.
age, 41. You know, not to make you say your age, but
No,
you can
not
be
at
31.
all. I'm proud.
But like, yeah. So like, what's 80-year-old whispering to you right now? And that's what I'd say to that mama, that, you know, that dad that's sitting there. It's like, what are they whispering? What are they wishing that you would have done? You know, I believe that you have a journey in this life, and it's like, okay, what are the things? What is that thing that you know that you could do?
Yeah, it's like hold the pen to your own journey. You know, write your story. Don't let someone do it for you.
Yeah.
Cara, I have so many questions. Before we wrap up, I want to do a quick rapid fire round just to lighten the mood and get to know you a little bit better.
Perfect.
All right, Cara, so we're going to start the rapid fire round. Nothing fancy, very quick, snippy answers that come to your mind. There's about 10 or 15 of them, and they're witty. So one word to describe rock bottom.
Exhausting.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, I can imagine. One word to describe you now.
Roar.
Roar. I love that. That's actually, I love that.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to the next one, but I'll let you answer. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tea. That's what you're drinking now. What's your favorite tea?
Oh, I am a Tetley English breakfast snob.
Nice. I'm a coffee, but I do enjoy my peppermint tea here and there. Risk or comfort?
Risk.
Risk always. I agree with that. Biggest fear you overcame?
Ooh, putting myself out there and worried about being judged.
Yeah. I love that. A book that changed your mindset?
Ooh, so many. How can I choose just one? The first book that I read when I was a kid was How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes.
And I would say that Never Split the Difference has been hugely impactful. And then recently, a Journey of the Soul. Life-changing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Morning routine or a night owl?
I feel right now it's both. I'm usually a night owl.
Night owl?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. If the Apiary were a song, what would it be?
Ooh. If the Apiary were a song, it would be We Are Family.
We Are Family. I love that. That is so cute. What's your power affirmation?
Ooh, I think it changes in different stages of my life, but I definitely, I think one that sticks with me always is you've got this.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, everybody's got this. They just need to believe in themselves, right?
Yeah.
A quote you live by. I love quotes.
Yes, I do too. I'm a quote collector.
Yeah, me too.
One that I love is in the end, everything will be okay, and if it's not the end.
It's not the end.
Right.
And you're never wrong to do the right thing.
Yes.
That's one of mine.
I love that one, yes.
Failure or feedback?
Ooh, I'm going to actually use Feed Forward.
Okay. Ooh.
I published on a entire process around Feed Forward, and it's a mixture of those two things.
That's amazing. Your CEO energy word?
Grit.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. I think grit.
One thing every woman needs to hear today.
You are beautiful.
I love that. One, if you could hug the version of you that got fired, I'm going to change that to let go. I don't like the word fired. What would you tell her?
Yeah, you've got this. It goes back to that a bit, and I also would just say be courageous.
Courageous.
Be courageous.
Believe in yourself. Yeah. Finish the sentence. Getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me because...
It gives me the life that I live today.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are our rapid fire questions. Thank you so much for being here today, being raw, sharing your journey, and showing us that rock bottom could really be the beginning of something new. For those of you that are watching and listening out there, always remember sometimes your setbacks are really your setups, and it's just a matter of time and a little bit extra hard work and effort. If this video resonated with you or you feel like it could really help someone, please share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.